Five scary stories that will make you sweat. Welcome all, it's that time again. Tonight, let's listen to 5 stories of the haunted houses and the paranormal. So sit back, relax, and don't be too scared to sleep. This is something that has been happening continuously, and I want to ask you if someone can figure out what's happening. So every time me, my wife, and stepchild move to somewhere new, strange things begin to happen. First, we were living in one old house. In the town we both grew up, the house was from her grandmother who passed away in that same house years ago. She told me that her brother saw an old man walking around the house. He thought maybe someone was looking for his dad or something. That was until he saw him vanish. Also, there was one time where they saw a little kid playing around the hallway, entering the rooms. My first thought is that she wanted to see if I was scared of ghosts, or maybe scare me with stories, I don't know. Until one day I saw by the edge of my sight a little kid peeking in the dorm room door. He looked all grayish and was dressed like in the 70s. I told my wife I saw the little kid, and a week later we got out of that house. It was unplanned. The night we got out, we were at dinner. We were eating and talking about something. I don't remember right now, but my stepchild was playing with my sister-in-law's dog, and I was watching them play behind my wife's back. Then I heard something. It was like a squeak. I stopped talking and asked my wife, did she hear it too? Then I looked to my left and saw that old dirty Fisher-Price red car with a yellow top. My stepchild had one, but it was so old and a little rusty, and we thought the squeak came from it. Then I moved just an inch or two. Then the little car makes the exact same noise. We both looked at each other, and then I asked her, did the car just move by itself or what? She just stared at me and told me she saw the little car moving a little, but nobody was close to the car. We start talking about other unrelated stuff, and then I went to bed with my stepchild. My wife was in the shower, and when she came out to our bedroom, she told me that she had this little old rag in the shower. It was all dry, and since nobody uses it, it was hanging there. Then all of a sudden the rag falls. I thought she was scared by the fact that an hour or two ago she saw the little toy car moving by itself. But I started to tell her maybe it was her that dropped the rag, and maybe the wind moved the car. I was trying to calm her down, but I know it couldn't be the wind moving the car, since there was not a source of wind inside the house. So we started to watch a comedy movie to forget what we just experienced, and my stepchild was watching videos on my wife's cell phone, and we turned off the lights. We were falling asleep when my stepchild, who was fully awake, started to hug my wife so hard, she told her that there was an oyster, and it was looking at us. You could tell she was scared and was pointing to the doorway. It was pitch black, and the doorway was behind my back. And by that time, I was trying to convince myself she was saying oyster or Easter or something else but monster, and I was petrified. She started to tell us the monster had little red eyes and was looking at us and was angry. I stood up and turned the light on to convince her there was nothing there, but my wife was just too scared to sleep the night there. We ended up at my parents' house and was going back for our clothes and stuff the next day. We lived with my parents for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then I had to move to another country for a business opportunity. We were living outside the city on a ranch, and everything was good. It was until a couple months later things started again. I wake up in the middle of the night to hear what seems to be a little kid laughing. Lights begin to turn themselves off, and we both experienced these phenomena, and they would happen during daylight but mostly at night. The last day I was there, I was closing the door and heard coins being dropped on the floor, and there was nobody else there. We lived there for about 3 to 4 months until we got a new house. It was new. Everything was brand new, and we've been here since then. Everything was okay until yesterday. I was making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I put away the jelly in the pantry. Then I closed the door. I went to go watch TV when all of a sudden, I heard a noise coming from the pantry. I went to the door, then opened it. I saw the jelly jar opened with the cat by its side, and I remember closing it. Then later that night, I was ready to go to bed, and I was making sure all the doors were closed when I heard another noise coming from the pantry. This time it was a soup bag. It seems it fell by itself. I checked out if there was mice or rats in the house, but there was none. Is there a possibility that something is following us? My sister-in-law said that my stepchild isn't baptized. She thinks that she may be being stalked by something. I remember what happened so vividly, even though it was about 13 years ago. I was about 7 at the time, living my daily life as any child would. Playing, dropping to the floor as a game, pranking my parents, putting water inside a half-empty toothpaste container. You know, kid stuff. There's this day in question. We were doing an activity in history class, cutting out what we call Láminas de la Independencia, here in Mexico, when all of a sudden I heard an airplane passing by. Pretty normal, especially in a city like Monterrey. The sound started as a fade-in, slowly superposing itself over everything else. Sometimes the sound can be pretty loud, except this time it wasn't. Nobody heard anything except for me. It was the opposite. I heard nothing but the screech of the turbine blasting itself inside my eardrums, like a drill from a construction waking you up in the morning, uninvited and inadvertent. I remember feeling numb, suddenly the world tilting itself sideways, like if it was flipping itself over. I covered my ears because it was almost literally deafening. The sound would not become muffled even in the slightest. It felt like it was coming from inside my head. Added to my confusion was the behavior of my classmates, completely neutral to the event. Not a sign of alteration in their attitude towards the current affair. It took around 5 seconds for the sound to slowly fade out. The classroom was pretty loud itself, given that 7-year-olds are not known for keeping quiet, but I couldn't hear a single soul during the whole thing, not even the person right beside me. Once the sound stopped, I couldn't believe what just happened, so I tried to confirm the occurrence with the people around me. First was my buddy. I could always trust, to be honest. Let's call him Oscar. He said he didn't hear a thing. I was flabbergasted by that statement, and I thought he was playing a prank. And so I went with a girl, same answer. I wasn't sure of what was happening anymore, given how promptly their replies were. Honestly, the thought of a prank left me right there. I decided to ask the teacher. She said she didn't hear anything either. Nobody heard the airplane. After school, I told my dad about what happened. He said that indeed it was very strange. He suggested the idea that I had entered another dimension for a brief period of time, since he was at the time studying a lot of metaphysics. I was always very imaginative, but the elaborations of my mind were always so intensely far away from what could be real that it was always obvious when I was making things up. This occasion wasn't one of those made-up fantasies. What kid would fantasize about something like this, especially when it causes a physically unpleasant disturbance in your life? And thus, in 5 seconds, the story began, and in a minute it was dismantled by the unawareness of those around me, if there was anything to be aware of at that moment. I felt like this was the right place to talk about very strange, inexplicable experiences. I don't think I went crazy at that moment, but instead that I went somewhere else, possibly outside of an airplane, albeit not physically. What do you think? So this happened a few days ago. I'm currently taking care of a dog and 3 cats for a family while they're on vacation. I don't mind. I've taken care of pets before. It's extra money. Anyway, the house is on a little back road with other smaller back roads next to it. The houses are pretty close to each other. The family's house has a small patch of woods behind it. I was at a concert with my friend, and I wanted to stop by the house before we went home. It was around 11:45 p.m. I went inside and let the dog out the back door. I went onto the porch and looked over the woods. There was a huge, perfectly square light in the woods. It actually looked like a window. It was like sunlight was being reflected perfectly in the woods. I could see perfectly in the woods even though it was close to midnight. I was more confused at first. I thought it may have been a reflection from the porch light on a window. I carry a taser that's also a flashlight. I shined my flashlight on it and looked closer. It started to make less sense. No window reflection is that big. I got kind of freaked out and got the dog back in the house. I made sure the cats and dog had water before I locked all the doors. I ran outside and told my friend who was waiting in the car. I wanted to go back and look and take a picture of it. She was too scared to go with me. I went back anyway. I went around the side of the house to look. It was gone. I had turned off the porch light. It started to make even less sense the more I thought about it. It wasn't there the previous night, and it's been 2 nights in a row now I haven't seen it. If I see it again, I will upload a picture. It still doesn't make sense to me. The youngest daughter of the family is terrified of their woods, and she won't really explain why. She just said she heard strange noises back there. Something about those woods does creep me out. My grandparents have woods, and I used to play back there all the time as a kid. The woods never really freak me out. This area of woods just gives me a weird vibe. I've always had a fascination with the paranormal. I've had many personal and shared experiences that I just can't explain. I like to consider myself a skeptic as well, using reason and logic to debunk such goings-on. One of the most terrifying events that occurred to me was in the summer of 2008. I was spending the night at my Aunt Dee's apartment. It was around 1 a.m., and I was alone in the living room. Now, the apartment was very small, having only one bedroom and one bathroom. They were both right next to each other in the rear of the apartment. I was sitting on the floor in the living room watching the TV with all the lights off. Like I said, the apartment was really tiny. My aunt's bedroom was behind me and to the right with a small hallway, separating the bedroom and the restroom. I had previously used the restroom, and I always shut off the lights. My aunt always has her bedroom door shut. I don't recall what I was watching, but I had the volume down so as not to bother my aunt. The kitchen was on the other side of the wall behind the television. To the right of the kitchen was the dining area, where there was a large round wooden table there. Again, the apartment was quiet and it was late. As I sat there watching TV, I briefly heard what sounded like a glass or cup slide on the wooden table. The table must have been at least 10 feet from me. As soon as I heard that sound, it drew my attention. I gazed in that direction and lowered the volume on the TV some more. I focused back on the television, and now I hear what sounded like a coin being dropped on the very same damn table. Again, I gaze in that direction, puzzled as to how a coin would bounce on the wooden dinner table. I turned back and began to watch the TV. Now at this point, I started to feel uneasy. The next thing that happened is something I can still recall, as if it had happened to me yesterday. It still makes my skin crawl, and it sends shivers up my spine whenever I think about it. After I heard the coin bounce on the table, I directed my attention to the TV. As I turned my head towards the TV, I heard the most menacing growl to my right that made me jump and lean away from it. It was so close to me and loud that I thought there was an animal about to attack me or something. I scrambled up and flipped on the lamp closest to me, and I immediately walked to see if my aunt's door is closed. It was. I look in the bathroom. It's empty. I begin to turn on all the lights. I checked to see if the main entrance door was locked. It was. I walk into the kitchen, empty of course. I had the view to the entire apartment from my original vantage point. No one could have snuck up on me, and then retreat away in an instant like that. My heart was beating so hard it felt as though it was about to burst from my chest. I sat on the couch amazed at what had transpired, trying to fathom how or what could have made that deep, throaty, demonic snarl. Thank goodness, I have not heard anything like that since then. Non-believers look at me with disdain when I tell them about this incident. I guess I would be skeptical too, but under these circumstances, I just can't explain it. My best friend passed away a few weeks ago. After a crisis, she wound up in the hospital in a coma. Before she was in a coma, I was the last person to talk to her. We were talking on the Facebook chat. We talked until she was placed in the car and drove away from her house, and the Wi-Fi cut out. She was in the hospital for 3 days. I thought she was going to be okay eventually, but she ended up passing away the 3rd full day she was there. The day she passed, I woke up that morning to a message from her on Facebook that said, "Why aren't you answering the phone?" And it included a voicemail that was her voice, and I could hear her very muffled and low crying. I thought she was awake. I called and got no answer. She died 3 hours after I received that message, and she never woke up from her coma. Is the reasonable explanation that her phone finally had enough Wi-Fi signal to send messages she tried to send 3 days before, when she was still conscious? But I just don't know. It just haunts me a lot. Well guys, thanks for listening, and make sure you stab that like button. It helps the channel a lot. Also, comment below your favorite scary story.